Something unexpected happened last year. So unexpected, I had no idea it was happening while it was happening. Didn't know too much later. Let me explain. In 2020, I was approached by the managing editors of Cosmos magazine. Now, Cosmos is Australia's rough equivalent to Scientific American. It's a magazine about the latest discoveries in science and the latest advances in technology. They wanted me to write a feature for them. So I took my particular obsession of that moment, which was how my Apple Watch was tracking all of my health stats at that time and basically not doing anything with them. I spun that into a piece called Dancing with Data. It was a lot of fun. Now, before long, they came back to me and asked me to start writing a column for them. So every 3 weeks, I got to write about whatever interested me at that moment. So there were columns about nanotechnology, columns about the metaverse, about art, about artificial intelligence, and much more besides. I was having a great time. Cosmos loved it too. Then, in February 2024, I got an email that informed me that all freelance contributions would come to a stop at the end of the month, including mine. I was sad, but I also knew that publishing had become increasingly hard to run profitably. Too much competition for advertisers' dollars from Google and Meta, too few newsstand readers, a slow collapse in revenue, and just like that, it was gone. It was nice while it lasted. Nothing lasts forever. I put it out of my mind and I went on to other things. Until, exactly 6 months later, a friend texted me with a link to an article on the ABC website.
Cosmos magazine publishes AI-generated articles, drawing criticism from journalists and co-founders. A decision by popular Australian science magazine, Cosmos, to publish articles generated by artificial intelligence has drawn criticism from its own contributors and former editors, including 2 co-founders. The controversy is an example of growing anxieties around the role of AI in journalism as publishers experiment with new productivity tools. Cosmos ran into financial difficulties and lost half its staff earlier this year, having won dozens of journalism and industry awards over 20 years of publishing. Cosmos contributors reacted to the move with disbelief, saying their work had been used to develop an AI service that generated articles and, in their opinion, undermined their role as journalists.
Yes, Cosmos had collapsed. Apparently, that also meant I could be replaced by artificial intelligence. G'day, I'm Mark Pesce. The coming next billion seconds will be the most transformative in human history. The arrival of AI looms as one big reason this will prove true. Over the course of this mini-series, we've done a deep dive, delving into the nuts and bolts of artificial intelligence. Is it really that amazing, or is it all just so much hype? In our excitement, are we losing sight of the other meaning of AI, that it's always imperfect? That's the title for this mini-series because as good as it is, and it's far better than it was 3 years ago, it still has a long way to go. Now, that hasn't stopped businesses from trying to replace staff with AI. That's the specter facing every knowledge worker. And it's the topic of this episode, the final in our mini-series. Can AI really replace us? That's coming up on the next billion seconds. You know the old saying, when life gives you lemons. I'd been put out of work by an AI. I was the first person I knew who could legitimately claim that. But I was far from the last. Just in the last 12 months, we've seen many people working in ad agencies, in marketing, other similar roles, including copywriting. They're suddenly unemployed as a good enough AI system comes in to take their jobs away. And Because this is really happening, and because it will only happen more, it's necessary that we have a think now about how to make ourselves more impervious to automation, to build resistance against the rise of the machines. Now, I have had a year to think that through. So let's go through it. First, we have to accept that this is happening. There's no safe harbor here. There's no way to stick our head in the sand and just let it go by, because although we may not want to look at it, we need to, calmly, clearly, openly. But in order to do that, we actually need to take a step back and ask ourselves, what are machines now doing that are putting our jobs at risk? What's being automated? A copywriter, for example. A copywriter was always going to be directly in the crosshairs of automation. AI is very good at generating text. Now, that text may or may not be accurate. It's always imperfect. It might require all sorts of human checks and fine-tuning. But it will always be easy to read. So if a copywriter's main job was simply to produce text that was easy to read, that made them very vulnerable. But again, let's bounce up a level. Let's ask why we need that text and where we need it. That's a different sort of question. That's a human question. An AI system can't even make a decent guess at that. Oh, it will generate some generalities, but the specifics of any situation are always beyond the capability of any AI because they've never been trained in those specifics, only in generalities, which means the person doing the copywriting now is the same person who previously decided why we need that text and where we need it. It's just now that they direct the AI to write those bits of text. It's a one-to-one substitution for a person. Their workflow is slightly changed. The copywriter's workflow is gone. We're starting to get a sense of the kinds of tasks that are hugely vulnerable to automation, and those tasks that are less vulnerable. And that's the essence of this concept of resistance. Decisions taken by humans to serve human ends tend to be resistant to automation. Not always, but mostly. So now that we've got a workable example, let's expand the exercise. Let's apply it to ourselves. So pop out even further. Take a look at your job. Think about all of the tasks you do as part of your job. You likely do a range of things within a single day and across a week and a month and even a year. Some of those are knowledge work tasks, for instance, creating a report. Some of those are human tasks, say meeting as a team to chart the progress of a project. As a first exercise, can you take a moment to write down all of the tasks that your job encompasses? Don't worry about being perfectly complete. We're operating in the realm of good enough is more than enough. So do that. Maybe even pause this episode, go grab a paper and pen, and write it all out. Go on. I'll still be here when you get back. Okay, so you've got that list of tasks. Now, which of those tasks are the most human and which are the least human? And if you don't know the answer to these questions, don't worry. It's just a good time to do a bit of research. Ask Google, can I get a computer to do blah, 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 and put in whatever that task is. Then have a read at what Google says. See if it hits the mark. Oh my goodness, there's this computer that can do this thing perfectly. Or if it misses it completely. Because the task described is so human, there's just no way that an AI can do it. When it hits the mark, make a note of those tasks, because those tasks will not be sticking around for long. It might be 6 months, it might be 6 years, but they will be automated away because they can be. And that's really important to know because it shows us something about the shape of work over the next billion seconds. Whatever can be automated will be. So if your list of tasks looks very vulnerable to automation, if nearly every task on that list can be automated today or can soon be automated, then you need to have a very honest look at your career path. How do you change that path to emphasize human tasks? What do I mean? So, meeting, collaborating, engaging, negotiating, empathizing, listening, conspiring, presenting, sharing, mentoring. And that's not even 1,000th of the tasks that are uniquely human. But it's not a bad starting point, and it's a foundation upon which a career path can be built, one which builds upon resistance to automation. Okay, now that you've done this, you have a list of tasks in your role that look more human and others that look less human. Now, have a think about how to lean into the tasks that emphasize your human capabilities. How can you bring those to the foreground? How can you make them your unique excellence? How can you excel in being human in your role? That's the big project for all of us. Find the most human bits in our work and focus on those. Become the most excellent human we can be in those most human tasks. And that right there, that is the most striking paradox of this new era of artificial intelligence, because it's got us backed up against the wall and it's stripping us bare. But the only things that it can take away from us are the things that aren't really that human to begin with. We're handing over the most mechanical bits of our work to the machines. What we're left with, that's our most human selves. In all of this tumult and confusion that we'll experience over the next billion seconds, we'll constantly be pushed by AI to be the best humans we can be. No one saw that coming. Let me share the final chapter in the Cosmos story. Not long after that expose appeared on the ABC website, I got a call from my editor at Cosmos, full of apologies. It wasn't his doing, I knew that. But Cosmos had not really succeeded in their plan to automate the production of columns because it's always imperfect. Cosmos needed their columnists back, so for the next year, I wrote for Cosmos, and I did so happily until they were finally shut down by the CSIRO as an unprofitable enterprise. Nothing lasts forever. No publication, no business, and no job. The only thing we can do is enjoy them while they're here, and prepare ourselves for whatever comes next. The Next Billion Seconds was written and presented by Mark Pesce, produced by Medium Productive. Our show is mixed by Luke Cramp, executive producer Josh Butt. If you like our show, please remember to follow us on your favorite podcasting app. And if you know someone who might be interested in these topics, please share our show with them. This is Mark Pesce, thanking you for listening.